Hey fellow babies, welcome back to this week's Pachter Factor. If you're a Patreon patron, thank you. If you're not, you're watching on YouTube, we get a follow on Twitter. And I want to make clear, I'm at Michael Pachter. I don't understand Twitter's algorithm, but I am not seeing all the mentions. So I'm not really sure how to fix that. Maybe if you lead a tweet to me or something, or hit me with a DM. But Shane and I were talking, I am not getting notified that the Pachter Factor's up. And SIFTD Games will say, you know, hey, Pachter Factor's up with the app Michael Pachter, and I'm not getting it. I haven't seen one in 5 weeks. So I don't really understand what's going on with Twitter. I will take that up with Twitter. They actually will reply to me. So if I'm not responding to you, I apologize, but I'm having real trouble getting, you know, all the notifications. And I don't read everything on Twitter every day, but I do look at my mentions at least every 2 or 3 days. And I only get like 5, you know, a day. So it's not like it's a massive undertaking. If I'm missing you, I apologize. If you are not able to, you know, support us on Patreon and you just don't have any interest in following me on Twitter, at a minimum, would you please link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account? It's really easy. Instructions are right below. Once you've done it, it's a one-click to re-up every month. We get $2 or $2.50 a month, so it's a meaningful contribution. If we get a couple of thousand of you to do that, and there have to be a couple of thousand you who are Prime members, that pays for the show. So really appreciate it if you can do that. On Patreon from Eligio J. Rosa, Nintendo's Direct for February showed a rise in the quantity of upcoming game releases for Switch. Is Nintendo starting to show you don't need extensive third-party support for a platform to be exceedingly successful? The way that platforms should approach third-party is they should all be third-party agnostic. And so if you're buying one console, you should presume that you can play anything on that console except first-party content from the other platform holders. So you don't expect when you buy a PlayStation that you're going to get to play Gears or Mario. You don't expect when you buy an Xbox that you're going to get to play The Last of Us or Spider-Man. And you don't expect when you buy a Switch that you can play, you know, Gears or Spider-Man. But you should expect you can play FIFA and Call of Duty and Battlefield and Anthem and, you know, whatever. And you can't with the Switch. So I disagree with your premise that you don't need expensive third-party support. The reason I think that the Switch is exceedingly successful, as you said, is it came late. And so, you know, you launch a console in 2017 into a marketplace where the other two competitors launched in 2013. Guess how many Switch owners have another console? Answer, all of them except the Nintendo fanboys. If you're a Nintendo fanboy, and again, I don't mean that as a derogatory term, but if all you play is Nintendo games, then great, then that's all you need is a Switch. But my guess is that even most Nintendo fanboys occasionally like to play FIFA, you know, occasionally like to play Call of Duty. And, you know, we can now see you're getting more and more of those games on PC. So in fairness, EA with its PC initiative, you know, with EA Origin Access, pretty much all their games are going on PC. And Activision finally put most of their games on PC. So Call of Duty on PC, all the Blizzard stuff, PC. So I guess you could own a Switch and a PC and then you don't need it. But if you're a console gamer and you like console controls and you want to play everything on a console, you really should be able to just assume that all third-party content that you care about other than a third-party will be on every console. It's not on the Switch. I think that's a problem for the long-term health of the console. I think if third-party supported the Switch, it would have sold its 20 million last year instead of 17. So my bias is it would be even more exceedingly successful if it had third-party support. And their advantage, which is kind of a disadvantage, they launched into a 140 million console installed base between Xbox and PlayStation when they launched. So of course, you know, half of their Switch sales are going to people who already own a third-party console. Next question from SIFTD from Norix Nessie. Based on an interview with Bonnie Ross at DICE, it sounds like Microsoft will not implement VR with its next console. Why do you think that is? Is VR officially dead? You know, I don't think VR is officially dead. And when Bonnie says they won't implement VR, you know, it's an open question whether the next Xbox will support VR. If the CPU, GPU, and all the DDR and stuff in the console is powerful enough to support Oculus or third-party HTC Vive, kind of third-party off-the-shelf VR, maybe. But I think what she's really saying, remember, she's a software developer. They're not making games that are a VR experience. The console itself may support VR, and so if somebody wants to make a game like the way Resident Evil was made for PlayStation that had VR, capability, I think that Microsoft would entertain that. I don't think VR is dead. I think VR is an experience whose time is probably not yet come. I mean, it's too early. VR is not going to work until you untether it, until it's fully wireless, until the headset's super light. You just can't require people to sit 6 feet away from their console and play VR. It's too tight. So maybe if they make 30-foot cords for VR, it's just hard, and it requires a ton of system power. And so I don't think we're going to get VR soon on consoles, but I'm not sure we're going to have consoles that much longer. I think that high-end PCs will do it. They're not particularly more expensive than a console. I mean, you probably can, in 3 or 4 years, get a PC that'll power Oculus for $400 or $500. We're not there yet because the graphics cards are $400 or $500 or $900, but we'll be there, I think, pretty soon. Okay, our next question from YouTube, from Drive Time. What happens to the extra inventory when retailers overpurchase a game like Fallout 76? Do retailers have an agreement with publishers where they're able to send back excess inventory? Yes, they do. Absolutely. There's something called a price protection reserve. And what happens with inventory is that when retailers order inventory, they are given a guarantee from the publisher that the amount you order will sell at full price. If it doesn't sell at full price, and let's just pretend it's Walmart and they buy 1 million copies, because big retailer, that's probably what they buy at Fallout. And so a $60 game, $48 wholesale. So Walmart's told is $48. The two protections they're offered, if you have to cut the price from 60 to, let's just say 40 to clear it out, well, the wholesale price on 60 is 48. The wholesale price on $40 is 32. So the difference between the $60 game and the $40 game in wholesale price is $16. If Walmart decides that they have to cut the price to $40, Bethesda gives them a $16 million credit on their next order, on their 1 million units, $16 a piece. If Walmart can't sell them at 40, cuts them to 20, they get another, $16 million credit. If they can't sell them at 20, they return the excess copies, full refund. The last time I saw that happen, where it was a meaningful problem for the publisher, was a game called Gun. Remember Gun? Actually, and prior to that, so Gun was like 2006 probably. Prior to that, Turok. Remember Turok? Bankrupted Acclaim. They shipped 3 or 4 million copies of Turok. It sold 400,000 or 500,000 copies. All 2.5 million remaining got shipped back, and Acclaim declared bankruptcy. Problem. They probably couldn't afford to pay back the retailer. You don't have as big a problem now as you did 15 years ago with overshipping, because so many copies are purchased digitally, and publishers still try to stuff the channel. Take-Two gave a guidance number for the March quarter, pretty low number, and it surprised people how low the number was. And the explanation for that was, well, we shipped 23 million units of Red Dead, and I'm paraphrasing, they didn't say these words, and we didn't sell through all of them. So retailers had them. My bias is it sold 21 million. I mean, trust me, Red Dead's not a problem. But those 2 million that spilled over into January, we have to work through that inventory, and they don't want to discount, so retailers have to sell that off. So we're not going to ship very many more copies, and that's cool. And again, that's a fine art. Will demand be 20 million or 23 million? Well, if demand's 23 and you only ship 20, that's a problem, because you got 3 million more demand than you have copies. So retailers don't want to get caught flat-footed without inventory, but they also don't want to get caught flat-footed with too much inventory. So the publishers have to give them an incentive to take the copies, you as a consumer, if you're buying physical, you want plenty of copies. You want everything to be sitting there, to make sure that you can get what you want when you want it. So it's that tension, and the publishers have to offer price protection. They do. They give full return privileges, and so I hope that answered your question. Our last question from YouTube, from Trav Hogan. Do you think BioWare, under guidance from EA, didn't include a player versus player mode in Anthem because Respawn had Apex Legends in the pipeline? Good question. Do you think Apex Legends was released to distract from the lukewarm reception to Anthem? Another good question. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for the question. I personally don't think that EA told the Anthem team what to do. I don't think Anthem was intended to distract, Apex was intended to distract from Anthem. Rather, I think that Apex was launched when it was launched to distract from the fact that EA had a miserable quarter. They guided down dramatically for the fiscal year. So I'm not going to bore you with crazy detail, but EA started the year expecting $5.5 billion of revenue, and they're guiding to 4.7 something this year. So they've dropped their revenue guidance by $800 million with no game slipping. That's really bad. So the $5.5 billion drops to 4.7, $800 million decline, just underperformance of everything that they do. That's really bad. And they had guided down by $350 million earlier in the year. So this other 450, this most recent one, that was a real shock to the system. And I think they launched Anthem on Monday. They reported on Tuesday. I think they were hoping that they could distract people. And I think, keep saying Anthem, Apex. They launched Apex on Monday. They reported on Tuesday. And I think they knew Apex was going to be really good, and it is. I think they couldn't wait until Thursday when they said Apex had 10 million downloads, and they couldn't wait until the following Monday, 25 million downloads. Take a look, and you can look at this on Yahoo Finance. It's pretty easy, or Google Finance. EA stock went from in the 90s to as low as 76 when they reported. It closed at 80 the day after, and Apex is already out. And then it ripped up to 106 a week later. So EA management was very happy to distract investors, and the people who were patient and hung in there got $25 extra. Now, Anthem has come out since, and the stock has dropped back down to 93. So the stock is all over the place, up on down on bad earnings, up on Apex, down on Anthem. It's a crazy ride. But no, I don't think that they told Anthem not to compete with Apex. I do think they told Apex, get out in front of Anthem because we need to distract people. I gave Vince Zampella a rash of shit because back in 2016, when he launched Titanfall 2, he was really upset that Battlefield 1 launched within a week and kind of grabbed all the headlines. And although, we saw plenty of Titanfall marketing support, he just felt like crowded out by another EA game, and Battlefield 1 obviously sold twice as many copies as Titanfall. So Vince was very upset that EA would crowd his game out with one of their own first-party titles. So I gave him shit. I'm like, how could you launch Apex right in front of Anthem? Like, you're doing that to a fellow, EA studio. And he said, I had no choice. They told me to do it. That's all I know. So I don't know anything more than I had no choice. They told me. So yes, Vince was told this is the good window. And I don't want to make EA into the evil empire. Obviously, they're picking like the right window for marketing and for players. And spring is a good time to launch a good game. I'm going to get it. But if I was the Anthem team, I'd be like, why are you launching right in front of my game? Like, that would have been a problem. So yes, I think there's a little bit of conspiracy theory there. I think that everything would have played out differently if Anthem was great and if EA had great results and wasn't lowering numbers. And so, very good question. And again, you never know. And EA's not going to tell me. I'm not going to ask. It's not that big a deal. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor. If you are a Patreon patron and watching on SIFTD.net, thank you. If you are watching on YouTube, two things. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Please, please, please follow Shane at Dinfire. Follow SIFTD at SIFTD Games. And please link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. We get $250 a month, and linking it, instructions below. There's a real easy resubscription every month, one button. And like I said, it costs you nothing. Amazon pays us. That keeps us afloat. So please try to remember to do that. And by the way, if you are reaching out to me on Twitter, I'm not getting everything, so I apologize. You might have to try more than once. I read my mentions every single day, and I'm just not getting them. I've been getting nothing from SIFTD, for example. So I don't know what the algorithms are doing. They're hiding stuff on my feed. I don't get it, but be persistent. I promise I will acknowledge every tweet. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week.